Hello, this is Jane Ellsworth, and this is my response journal number 1 for Antigone. Okay, to begin, I did some research about Athenian life in the 5th century BCE. I used sources like pbs.org, Britannica, e-learning YouTube videos from the University of Cambridge, Khan Academy videos, and TED Ed videos. I just want to get a good context of the Athenian Golden Age to make connections with the book. So Antigone was written by Sophocles in 442 BCE, which is right in the sweet spot of the Athenian Golden Age. And basically why it's called that is because it was just an awesome time for the city and Greece in general. And so they had awesome things like artistic practices of theater, art, and architecture. It really blossomed. Pericles, the governmental leader at the time, supported the building of the Acropolis as well as the Parthenon, which is really wild. You also had pursuits of mathematics, geometry, science, and medicine. You had the system of democracy, like Pericles, the leader at the time. And that also, I think, caused a great interest in debate, argument, and philosophy. So like philosophy, we have Socrates who taught Plato and so on and so on. And then so there was just this mass pursuit of knowledge and understanding how the world works, which I think is really cool. This period of Grecian history was quite inquisitive, and a major theme for Greece at the time was to ask questions about everything. So in context at the time that Antigone was written, it was right in between the Greco-Persian Wars, which Greece and Athens kind of came out successfully and actually retaliated against Persia, which was really cool for them. And then at the later end, there was the Peloponnesian Wars, which was where the city-states of Greece kind of fought each other. And then that was kind of the beginning of the end for the Athens Golden Age, as Athens lost against Sparta. So we have, let's start talking about the book, or not yet, okay. So some differences that I found, like between kind of our reality and the reality back then. So the place of women is very different from the different periods, especially in government. So even though Greece and Athens had a democracy, women weren't allowed to participate, as well as people who weren't originally from Athens, as well as slaves. Military participation was a big thing that I found very different. Pretty much every guy at the time who was over 18 years of age had to participate in military training. Also, even though Athens does have a democracy that is very different from our government system, technically we have a republic, versus Athens at the time really focused on majority rule. So it was interesting to see like how that plays out in their society. Also this idea of like nationalism and pride. So something that I found in the book was obviously Creon is very proud of his country, or not country, of his city, Thebes, which I think it's similar for some people. Also, I know a lot of people my age, I think almost stray away from having pride in the US, which is very interesting. As well as in the book, I noticed a lot of interesting talk about handling death, and what the city, what the government's position, or what they should be doing when handling death. Whose responsibility is it to say what we should do with the dead? And with that, I think I can start talking about the characters. So for the characters, what's at stake for the characters? For Creon, I think he is trying to establish his power and his rule over the city and over his subjects. I think he wants to make sure that he looks good as a leader and that his word is kind of like the law. He wants that power and he wants to be seen as like a leader, even though he might be more of a tyrant. And yeah, for Antigone, both her brothers are dead, and I think she just wants a proper burial for Polynices. I think she's a big believer in equality, especially for death in this case. And I don't really think she has a lot of care for political beliefs or societal beliefs of what should happen. I think she's more in tune with what is morally right in the grand scheme of things. How does drama heighten as the play continues? The drama heightens as the play proceeds because the two main characters, who are at very opposite ends of this argument, even though they're quite similar, they're both very stubborn, but they're at opposite ends of this argument. And as the story proceeds, they're just getting closer and closer to butting heads. And so while reading it like halfway through, I was looking forward to the climax of when something was going to happen, because you knew they're both stubborn. Neither of them would back down. So I think that tension between the two characters really helps build that up. And then finally, kind of looking back once I finished the book, so what is Antigone concerned with? I think Antigone is kind of concerned with questioning this authority. For example, questioning Creon's authority, and trying to do what she thinks is right, which also might be wrong, but to her and her mind, it's right because it's equal, and she wants to do right by the gods. Whereas Creon, I think, is concerned with power, with trying to be right as well, but in a different way. I just don't think he wants to look bad. He doesn't really give in until the very, very end of the book. So I think that kind of shows how persistent he is with his beliefs. But Antigone is very, very similar. So we go to describing both of them. I described Antigone as stubborn, headstrong, independent, brave, and suicidal. Yeah, I think she is a bit suicidal, and I think she has motivation and reason behind it, but I think that was just a very interesting trait that I found throughout the book. For Creon, I had stubborn, headstrong, arrogant, and hypocritical. So arrogant was a big thing. I also feel like he thinks he's superior than a lot of other people. Often he really puts women down. I have some quotes as well. From now on, they'll act like women, 652 from Creon. Kind of saying like, well, from now on, they'll act worse off or something. Like women are not equal. Never be rated inferior to a woman. Never. That's 760 by Creon. So this is a very common theme that he has. He's also very hypocritical, because at one point he insults Antigone for not being flexible, for being stubborn. And then Haman has this excellent exchange with his father and says like, hey, you do not bend, you break, like a massive tree whose roots get like ripped out. And or like a sheet that's too taut that will rip. So it's interesting because as much as he scrutinizes, he can't take other people scrutinizing him. So that's kind of why I had that. So I have some other quotes that kind of talk about what Antigone is kind of looking for. So Antigone says, 586, who, Creon, who on earth can say the ones below don't find this pure and uncorrupt? So kind of saying like, I don't care about these worldly ideas of what's morally right. I care more about what the gods think is right, what the dead think is right, versus things that the standards of society. Yeah, so I'm trying to think if there are any other quotes that I want to have. Ismene also kind of carries this idea of women's place in society. And 75, she says, remember, we are women. We're not born to contend with men. Then, too, we're underlines ruled by much stronger hands, which is a very powerful quote. And I have another quote, 204. It's kind of where Creon is saying his relationship with the city is more than one with a friend. And whoever places a friend above the good of his own country, he is nothing. So those are some quotes that I have. I also have some kind of notes about them, and I will also submit that in the Dropbox. But yeah, those are just some of my observations that I have from the first reading, and I'm excited to kind of examine it again. Anyway, until next time, bye.